Oh, babe, I did forget my glass. Can you grab it? At the sink.
All right, I think we're live.
Oh, what fantastic timing.
So, hi everybody. Welcome to
What's up,
Cast of
guys?
Strength, episode 26, I think.
Yeah,
Something
we'll
like
go with that.
that. Episode
Sounds good.
26 or so. I don't know.
Cheers.
Welcome. Oh,
How you doing,
joining me
guys?
as usual, I guess would be Dan. Vito died, so Jeremy showed up to replace him, and that's great.
I'm Vito.
Yeah. No, it's close enough. It's fine.
Yeah, it'll work. Hey, buddy.
So, how's everybody doing?
Good.
Jeremy,
Good.
look a little bit chaotic over there.
Just a little bit. So, an hour before this all kicked off, I managed to drop 2 trees, trim them all up, and still managed to get in here
Nice.
and showered.
Always
Yeah,
important.
that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
In the last hours of time, I just kind of sat around,
Nice.
and then in the last 10 minutes, I chugged some coffee and washed some glass.
Sweet. And Christina, the chat shower is important. Yes, true. Jeremy, the lumberjack.
Although- So, what's everybody got in their glasses tonight?
A well-deserved smoky pepper.
Nice.
Oh, nice one.
I think I'm gonna go heavy on the Bruichladdich stuff tonight. So I'm starting with a little bit of the classic Lottie.
Beautiful.
Ooh.
Yeah.
The little itty bitty
So-
bottle from a taster pack.
Yeah. So I also broke open my mini pack there, and I'm enjoying some of the Beer Barley 2008.
Ah, nice.
Ooh. They're a nice sized bottle, I tell you.
Yeah, well, when you're drinking pours the size I do, they last a long time.
Yeah, it's basically a full size bottle for Dan. It's
Yeah, straight.
like not
If I
even
could-
being sarcastic. Like that's just yeah.
If any of you are from distilleries or have any pull at distilleries, please put out more 200 ml bottles.
They're great, yeah. Especially for something that you haven't had, and you're like, I want to try it, but do I really need 750 mils?
Yeah, that 200, 300 mil is a really good sweet spot. You know, beyond a taster, but good enough to enjoy, get past any neck pour issues.
Yeah, it's not like a tiny mini where you drink it and it's like, oh, this is amazing, and then you never find a full bottle. I was like,
Yep.
damn it.
And it's
Yeah.
beyond the little minis that you get in a hotel bar where you need to put 4 of them in a glass to get a halfway decent drink.
Yeah, Whiskey Den says the show requires a full size pour, but for me that is full size. So
Apparently, Brad's sound is low.
My
No,
sound
he's
is low. I can turn myself up a little bit here.
it's actually his dulcet tones. He does a Barry White impression that is just on point.
I don't think anybody needs to hear that. That would be disturbing more than anything else.
And the Whiskey Wookie, because that's what he get called now. He's in as well. Hello. We should do that. We should say hello to some people in the chat.
Oh yeah, Donald
Yep.
Rance is drinking tea because he's on call. That's very responsible. Good.
yeah,
Good.
think he's up, Donald.
Yeah, we've got John V. Westland Petered. Nice choice.
That's nice. Yeah, that was good. That's good stuff.
We got Sniper Mac here as usual. He's drinking the last of his Connemara.
Ooh, that's
Yep.
that's tasty too.
Yeah.
I don't have much of that left. I don't think of my little sample.
Mike Lissac is drinking some Larceny that was aged in a barrel that held Lefroy quarter cask.
Ooh.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, so you'll have to you'll have to hit the chat up and give us a bit of a tasty note there, Mike.
Yeah, please do, Mike. That is only the second bourbon I've ever heard of aged in a peated Isla. The first being that North Star Spirits, the Heaven Hill, which is aged in Ardbeg cask.
Oh,
And I've been after that one for a while. But that Larceny, and I believe Larceny is a wheated bourbon. I'm pretty sure, if I remember my days as a bourbon drinker.
I'd have to defer to you on that. I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Larceny is a wheated, and it's actually not bad. For the price, it's a pretty good whiskey, at least for the price up here in the frozen north. So yeah, me and Brad.
Steve A says it is wheated.
Wheated, yes.
Yeah, wheated. Back on the topic of Bruichladdich, me and Brad were mentioning earlier how they do a very good job of making both peated and unpeated. And in my personal opinion, I think they are hands down the best at making both expressions of peated and unpeated. Obviously, their peated stuff doesn't really need explanation in the Octomore and the Port Charlotte range.
Sure.
But they're non-peated, like you've got the classic laddie there. It speaks for itself. Most people have had that. And if you haven't, give it a try, because it is a super good and very reasonably priced non-peated offering from Bruichladdich.
Oh, we have a tasting note from Mike. Short note, it put balls on the Larceny. So, okay.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. Jason Unsworth saw a Bruichladdich Old and Rare 32 years old for sale at Total Wine, but it didn't have a spare 9 hundo.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. I think I've seen a couple of those too, of those older Bruichladichs, and they look quite nice, but I don't think it's anything I'll be getting anytime soon.
I think the oldest one that I've had would be the newest Black Art, which is 26 years old. Yeah.
Oh, is it the 6.1?
Yeah.
That's 26, eh?
Yeah.
I've got the 4 and the 5, and they are both just spectacular. But the 4 really is amongst the best non-peated I've ever had, and I really think that, I know they don't disclose what cask they use, or casks, in the Black Art, but it certainly is one of those unique wine casks that they've got, of the many different wine casks that Bruichladdich has been using. And whatever it is, it's just spectacular. I really kind of reminds me of like Barolo, which is one of my or maybe even a Barbaresco, just something with the Nebbiolo grape in that Black Art 4.1. It's just stellar.
I just had a quick Google, and I can get Black Art, but it's like $550.
So, well, see
all
here.
This talk of Black Art now, I'm just gonna have to pour some. Damn it.
Yeah.
See again, the wonderful world of 200 mils.
I know,
That
right?
would be nice to get a 200 ml of Black Art would be amazing.
Yeah, $75. You can't go wrong.
So,
hopefully people can hear me a little bit better. Apparently I was still quiet. I don't know. I'll just keep slowly turning things up until people hear me, I guess.
Maybe you should just keep talking louder and louder until the point where you're hopefully shouting at the screen.
I could just start yelling at my mic like this. That wouldn't be annoying for anybody at all.
Crank it up.
So Jason
says it's still quiet.
Yeah,
Jason Unsworth can hear me okay, so I don't know. Maybe it's okay. I don't know. Maybe YouTube is just drunk.
See him, Mike, your internet's sucking, and I hear that, buddy. It happens sometimes. Have a good night, bud.
Yep. Catch you on the replay. That's still a thing, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep. So this beer barley is actually quite nice. All of the expressions I have, the non-peated that came in the barley exploration pack, is the Isla barley, the organic barley, and the beer barley. They're all 50%. And they are really, really nice. And there is that slightly misleading note that makes you think that it is lightly peated, but then you realize that it's just an Isla and it's probably in your head.
Right.
It's really nice and sweet. There's a lot of cereal.
Yeah, the classic Lottie has that sort of deceptive, like, "Are you sure this isn't peated?" kind of thing going on.
Yeah,
That
it's
a lot of
just that
people seem
tiny.
convinced that it's peated. It's definitely not, but I can see like the barrel notes and things. Like it's deceptive. Like there's definitely things in there that make it seem sort of peated in a weird way.
Yeah, and I can see them obviously doing that with the access of casks that they have, aging it in a cask that previously held some peated stuff would give it that, right. Just that little hint. But this beer barley is really, really nice. A lot of buttered toast on the nose. Just a little bit of pepper spice and just fantastic. One of the nicer unpeated Isla that I've had. I think it's my favorite from the Barley Exploration Pack, which was an awesome buy. This guy here.
Yeah, it's great.
Came with a nifty poster too.
Nice.
And you can't go wrong with nifty posters.
No.
Mike Lissack was saying that there are 100% more fuck bombs on, 1,000% more on the whiskey and lipstick channel. That's because we just don't fucking swear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I didn't.
We'll get Sam on here one of these days, and it's just the internet will collapse with F-bombs.
I didn't know that we could fucking
F-bombs.
swear.
Oh no, we can't fucking swear. We're PC the whole way.
We fucking swear.
Like G rating.
Jeez.
Okay. Claddy is just awesome, and yes, Claddy is. Oh, Gretchen, I'm so not a poser. I swear like a motherfucker. My family is Irish English. I use swears that just really not appropriate.
He's just well behaved.
And
right.
I'm Australian.
I wasn't sure what the protocol was. And seeing as we're so professional, I was never told all of the rules and regulations.
We're on the internet and we're not monetized, so
yeah.
Fuck it, basically.
Fuck yeah.
Whiskey man just fuck shit ass. Sure. Yeah. I mean,
See, I toned down some of the normal swears that I would use, because the vernacular is a little bit different.
Sure.
Same
There's
here.
some social differences in the swearing norms that I have definitely caught myself almost saying certain things to you on live stream that I normally wouldn't in a public setting, but depends on how much whiskey I get in me. Who knows?
I have a lot of respect for a lot of people, but some people see certain words like the C word is a big one, and I don't use it as the same way that some people do.
No.
And yeah, it's just not a super great word,
It's all context and tone. Yep.
I'm assuming Josh is on the Texas Whiskey Life channel in the chat who just says boobs. But Vito's not here, so that's the Vito signal typically. He's not
now, if Vito actually appears, that would be fantastic.
He just pops into the
Gretchen, Whiskey Tourette's is actually that is a good t-shirt idea.
I beg.
That would be a great t-shirt, yeah.
Yeah,
you gotta love Billy Connolly there, Donald Rants. Always a good time.
Yep.
And Fraggle Rock, which the chat is all over the place right now. Sure, yeah.
Yep.
Fraggle Rock is great.
You'll have to get that on the thing. Dylan might enjoy that.
It's true.
Yeah.
I'll have to find
that. Yes, Graham. It is used.
Yeah.
Very, very frequently in Glasgow. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's used
it's
quite
very versatile, but also some people don't enjoy it quite so much.
Yeah,
depends on context.
My wife still isn't super used to it, but she gets that it's different in some families and stuff. So She knows, and it's not. I don't use it as an insult. I use it quite literally in every other context, but an insult.
There we go. I'm back.
Oh, welcome back, sir.
Yes, well, welcome back.
Yeah.
Your internet seems to be a little bit in and out, but you seem to come back each time, so whatever.
It's always a bonus. Yep. Yeah, no. So for those, it's incredibly windy and bit meh weather-wise. So the internet is not the greatest.
Fair.
Pigeons get lost in flight.
Oh, Brandon Elliott just showed up in the chat saying he's a bit late, but he made it. Welcome. And Graham Young is apparently a bit windy, so that's fine. It's all good. No judgment.
That's it. Maybe that's the butterfly effect. Graham has a good curry, and we have a cyclone.
Yeah,
that's just science.
The guy from Fraggle Rock is the guy with Tourette's in Boondock Saints. I believe he's called Fuck Ass.
Yeah.
And yeah, he absolutely is the guy from certainly the one from the Christmas special, at least, where they go up to the house there, and Buddy's got his dog, and they have to deal with everyone showing up.
Yeah, there's
I do believe
there overlap between like very profane people and children's shows, like George Carlin on Shining Time Station for years for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very strange.
Also, oh Jesus, it's this is embarrassing. I can't remember the name of Danny Tanner. Bob Saget.
Oh, Bob Saget. Yeah.
Like I don't know if you've heard his stand up, but he is filthy.
Yeah. Yep.
And then he's Danny Tanner, literally like the most prim and proper family dad. I'm going to get into some Isla Barley 2010 now.
Ooh, nice.
I thought you only just got that tasting pack. All those bottles seem to be heavily hit.
Okay, so I only opened these a buddy Adam wanted to try some, so I sent him with some samples to open it and send over to him, and then the Isla Barley was shared at the last physical gathering we had of some of the Canadian bastards, and the organic isn't even open yet. But I also, when I first open a bottle, I pour a sample for the archives. So it's from the fresh popped bottle. And 2 ounces makes a bit of a dent in the smaller bottles.
Sure.
So not freshly open per se, but I really haven't gotten into it too much.
Oh, DJ11 is in the chat. Hey.
Oh, massive difference in the beer barley and the Isla barley. So the beer barley is 10 years, and the Isla barley is 7 years, and it is noticeably punchier. It's a little. I would think that it was more than 50% from the nose by comparison to the beer barley, but it's really got that cereal sweetness. Super nice. Really tasty. Certainly a lot punchier.
I don't think I've opened that one yet. I might have to crack that open.
It's quite nice. And again with this one, I really wouldn't be shocked. And someone like Jeremy would probably have to research this, but I really wouldn't be shocked if it was aged in something that held peated before, or finished in something that held a peated whiskey before, because it really has that spike. but you can tell it's not peated itself. Just
so
wonderful.
The barley, the barley itself was harvested in Orkney.
What, the Isla barley?
No, the beer barley.
Okay, I was going to say that's rather contradictory.
Yeah, no. So the beer barley's on Orkney. Now, the Isla barley. Look at my live YouTube skills.
The rookie wine and whiskey enthusiast is heading out, so thanks for stopping in.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by, man. Have a good night.
Oh, wait.
Going to shoot his own review. Awesome. Good luck on that. I'll have to check that out.
It's a harsh reminder that I haven't put out a standalone review in a while.
So the Isla barley is matured in American oak casks that are located in the coldest warehouse.
Okay.
So that's their kick.
I'm getting a lot now. See, now that you've said that on the nose, I'm getting a lot of that sweetness, those vanillins.
Hey, Ed from Rock Guts here.
Hey, Ed.
Yep.
Just got home from work, I assume. Hey.
Yeah, DJ11. That the selection behind Dan is I believe that the bulk of that is his archival reference material. Dan is becoming a whiskey scholar, slowly but surely.
Yeah. DJ, I have a pretty large selection of smaller bottles, and the larger of those smaller bottles on the bottom are what I decant my larger bottles into when they come low. I drink fairly small pours, certainly by comparison to the rest of most folks, just enough to get a good taste and a good nose and put an entry into my journal. And I'm very fortunate to have a lot of friends up here that share a lot of samples, and we trade a lot of samples. So I have grown a pretty big selection. Lot of bourbon, and this big main section here you can't even see to the top on camera, I don't think, is all Scotch. And then I've got the other section in the darker shelf there is all bourbon and Canadian on the top. And then my larger bottles are all on the other side of the room there. But when you don't drink much and you don't drink often, you tend to pile up. And I try my best to share as much as I can, but I'm a little bit out of the city and a little bit away from everyone, although not quite as far as Brad. Brad is really, really, really good at sharing. He is has a master's. He has a PhD in sharing. I'm just trying.
That were a thing. If I could be a doctor of whiskey sharing, that would be amazing.
You are, buddy. You are. You're beyond that. You are. You have tenure.
So should we start a school just about whiskey sharing, and then we can just do? He's a level 4 whiskey sharer.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we know some people that run a school. Maybe we can just get a PhD program started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure of the legalities of that in the U.S. exactly. There's probably a lot of hoops to.
Well, no, that's it. The PhD would entail the legality side of everything, so you would know where you can share and where not.
There you go.
That's it's.
Yeah. There's a thing that I'll mention a lot called being Brad spoiled. And it's very bittersweet thing.
There's sorry a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm not Brad spoiled, if it helps, Dan.
You have to get.
Well, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. We're gonna
distance
maybe
and shipping.
design some type of 2-man submarine. We'll take shifts and we'll just get down there.
There you go. Yeah, the legalities of shipping to and from Canada when it comes to whiskey makes international sharing difficult.
I know.
But if you get to this continent, I'm sure I can work something out.
That's half the battle, isn't it?
Yeah.
We could probably easily send nuclear materials more easily than we could alcohol in Ontario.
That's probably true.
It's such a scene.
You can get educational exceptions for sending volatile materials. And you can do the same thing with whiskey, as far as I understand, through the LCBO.
Graham says, I hear the PhD programs in the States might be flexible enough to include whiskey distribution, a viable dissertation, and that would be fantastic.
I mean, Dr. Don Livermore is a PhD of distilling, right? So, there's precedent for whiskey-related PhDs.
Yeah.
Might be a hard sell for whiskey sharing, but...
It might. But, I mean, look at all the support you have.
There you go.
You might just be able to get a time served.
That would be
Is it recognition of prior learning?
PhD.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to have to break in to some MCO1.
Ooh, that will be my next pour. That is one of my favorite whiskeys, period, actually. I think that the Marsala cask is a fantastic way to age that particular Port Charlotte.
Absolutely.
I was sort of when I first opened it, I thought it was a little much because that Marsala wine is quite prevalent and really shows up on the front. But then I got into the bottle a little more, and it is there's not, because of the infrequency and small pours that I drink, I don't buy many bottles twice because one lasts me a very long time. But I definitely bought 2 bottles of the MCO1.
Nice.
Little known fact: if you squeak the top of the MCO1 3 times, Adam Brudner appears.
Wouldn't surprise me. That seems possible.
He's actually in, a little bit of him is in every bottle. It's kind of like a Horcrux.
Sure. Yeah. Makes sense.
I'm glad that everybody knows. If you don't know what a Horcrux is, then you got to get on that.
It's okay. We have a heavy nerd following, I'm sure.
We do. So what is everybody in the chat there? What's your favorite offering from Bruichladdich? Have you tried Bruichladdich? If you haven't, what would you like to try? Graham Young, if you ever get to have a dram with Dr. Livermore, do it. I attended 2 courses he hosted a local festival. So, yeah, Graham, Brad actually, in a portion of his fantastic sharing, took me and another guy, Scotty, to a masterclass from Dr. Don. And it was fairly intimate. I was expecting a lot more people there, but there was enough that there was so few people that it felt quite intimate. And he went through, I'm sure, a lot of the same stuff he did with you, Graham, into detail. We tried the entire new Northern Border collection that won't be released until the fall.
That Lot 40. Oh, it's so good.
And so essentially we did share a dram with him as he was having a dram while we were having a dram and speaking to us. And it was quite, it was one of the best and coolest experiences in my whiskey journey so far.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
And yeah, Black Art 4.1, Graham, I would have to agree. It's hands down one of my favorite non-peated Scotch I've ever had. I'm probably going to have a small sample of it, and I have some thanks to #BradShare.
I'll have to start a non-profit whiskey sharing organization somehow. It's got to be a thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So John V, his favorite Bruichladdich is the Octomore 8.1, which is spectacular. Graham with the Black Art 4.1.
Matt from Whiskey Crusaders.
Yeah, hey, Matt.
Hey, man.
Hey, thanks for joining. A couple Port Charlotte 10 years, which is great stuff. I would have to say I haven't even been remotely let down, any type of disappointed or anything from Bruichladdich. I love them. Peated, unpeated, they make they do fantastic stuff. They have some pretty good integrity, and that goes a long way in the world of whiskey, as we all know. A lot of that happening down in Texas, where there's a lot of love being put in, and everything that comes out. So I hear, having only tried 2 whiskeys out of Texas, it's great stuff.
Well, after October, hopefully I'm going to bring back a whole bunch, so we'll have more of a selection of Texas whiskeys to play with.
That would be awesome, because that's certainly probably the... Yep, Gretchen, we said Texas.
Someone said Texas.
Probably the biggest growth sector in the world of whiskey right now. A huge boom.
It'd be really good if we could get some sort of Texas whiskey expert on the channel at some point, like someone who lives there locally.
I don't know anyone that would. Yeah. I don't know anyone that fits the bill.
I don't think we have any connections over there.
No, unfortunately not.
But, we could probably work something out.
Yeah. We'll have a Mike. Not Mike. Matt. I've not looked at your twofold review yet. It's probably less abrasive than mine was, or less mean than mine was. But yeah, I'm a little bit behind in some videos, but I'll probably give that a whirl later tonight. Yes, Gretchen. Look, if you know any distillery reps that'd be happy to come on the channel at some point, I'm sure we can accommodate them.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, John Gonzalez is asking how much it's going to cost me to get the stuff across the border. I don't know yet. I guess we'll find out. None of them are crazy expensive, thankfully, so it shouldn't be horrible. But if they decide to ding me with taxes, I mean, that's just how it's going to be, unfortunately.
It's only those Tombstone bottles that are the problem, because those shoulders are a little bit more uncomfortable to ship.
Captain Make It Happen says, love to give people the classic laddie and watch them debate if there's peat in it.
Yeah, that's always fun. Because it's fully understandable why people have that reaction.
Yep. So, I mean, if you told me it was peated and I didn't know any better, like if you just passed me this and said, here, this is lightly peated, I probably wouldn't argue.
Sure.
But at the same time, when you know that it's not, and you know where it's from, and that you can get that it's not. But again, there is just that little spike to it that very misleading.
Oh, DJ11 is asking, how many bottles did I bring last year to the party in Texas, the semi-secret tasting that I was involved in? I want to say probably 10 or 12. Other people brought bottles too and everything. It wasn't just my whiskey, but the stuff that I brought was maybe a dozen bottles or so, something like that.
Yeah, a dozen of the nicest bottles.
And other people brought them, so it's sort of tricky to calculate. It was stuff I couldn't get in Canada that other people got that I funded, essentially, them bringing it to the party, and other people brought their own things to share, and it was a lot of whiskey that day for sure.
# jealous.
Yeah, Jason Unsworth brought a bottle of Dark Cove to that. It was so good. Dark Cove is great. Yeah, a bunch of people brought legitimately super interesting whiskeys just to share with people. No, don't hold the bar. It was amazing. It was a very friendly event.
But that's also kind of the mission that they were after, wasn't it? It was, doesn't matter your background, and then bring something you enjoy. share it with others, share the experience, share the fun. It's great.
Like, basically, we made sure there was enough whiskey that if no one else brought whiskey, there would still be enough whiskey. But, like, a lot of people brought whiskey, so it was just a crazy amount.
Yeah, you tend to do that, Brad.
Yeah, that happens.
I remember the amount of whiskey we had the first time I met a lot of you guys, certainly Brad. Actually, the first time I met all of you guys at Adam's house there. And he has a table that's 4 foot by 4 foot, and there was barely enough room to put our Glencairns on it. Because Brad brings about 750 sample bottles of the best friggin' whiskey on the planet.
It was a good day.
And we all brought some, and that was quite a sight. I jumped right into the deep end as far as meeting you guys.
There's probably a picture of all that whiskey somewhere. I'll have to find it and try.
There is, because we were all taking pictures because it was absolutely.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw some of those pictures and I was jealous.
Well, yeah. You have to get to this continent.
Oh, it's not my fault.
Yeah, and I brought like Booker's and some Russell's Reserve. I cause being a bourbon guy at that time, I was 99% bourbon, and so everyone is like, "Oh, this guy's got like bourbon, and we're not huge into bourbon." And I'm like, "Oh, that's great." And like Brad's giving me, "Here, drink this." Wow, this is the tastiest thing I've ever had in my entire life. Food or drink. Yeah, maybe I can pick myself up some of that. Good luck. That's 23-year-old Ardbeg.
That you can't even get in Canada as far as I know anywhere. Definitely not Ontario at the very least.
That was my first...
so lucky finding that bottle in Pennsylvania randomly while traveling.
Yeah, that was my first Ardbeg. Everybody, how do you like that? My first Ardbeg was 23-year-old.
Not a bad way to enter, really.
No.
Well,
it's
so
a good
that's
way to
the
find
bittersweet.
out if you like it, because it's sort of more approachable than some of the younger things, but like you get the Ardbeg kind of flavor profile.
Yeah, so approachable. It was just delicious.
I mean, it could be worse. He could have given you some like 1815 and then just gone from there.
Well, it might as well have been. I mean, there's no getting back there. Yeah, setting a high bar, John V, big time. So, like, just to throw it out there, like, I still haven't had 10-year-old Ardbeg. Yeah.
Why not?
Because I've had, like, just all the committee releases, not all of them, like, not the committee releases, I had a couple committee releases, but, like, the Ardbeg Day releases, I've had just so many of those different offerings, and I think the closest to the 10-year I've had is the Renaissance, which I believe is what the 10 replaced.
Basically, the Renaissance was like when they reopened the distillery. Like, okay, we finally have the flavor profile for the 10 again, and then they changed it a little bit for the actual.
Okay. Yeah. I have
like
no
the last
need.
release in their string of like still young, not quite. There,
oh, right.
All the like there's like 4 or 5 in that range until they got up to about 10 years, and they were like, "Yep, we found it again."
Right. Yeah. So yeah, and I know it's awesome, John. And it's just come to the point like I haven't, and I should pick up a bottle, but I've got so much stuff. And quite honestly, every time I think about, maybe I'll pick up a bottle of Ardbeg 10, I end up grabbing a quarter cask. Oh, shots fired.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so here's the thing, right? Like, and I discussed
Patrick
this.
is heading out. See
you
later, Patrick.
This is something we discussed the other day on a non-streamed hangout. Was Lefroy quarter cask has got to be, generally speaking, one of the best expressions that you can get. Well, I feel is one of the best expressions you can get of Lefroy. Sure. You go from quarter cask to 10 and you're kind of disappointed in Lafroig 10. Whereas if you go from, say, Ugadal, which is what I would currently call one of the better expressions in the core lineup of Ardbeg, if you go back to the 10, you're just reminded of how good the 10 is in Ardbeg. Like, you don't have that disappointed. You're not really left wanting. You go, yep, it doesn't have that really nice sherry kind of a kick, but damn, it's still damn tasty.
It's not a disappointment. It's like, yes, this is different. This isn't the same as those other core range things or some of the weird special things.
But like, it's still great.
Just damn good.
Yep.
Yeah, I really love Oogie. It is great stuff.
Oh, Graham.
Oh, Graham.
Graham with a super chat. Get that man a dram of Ardbeg.
Thanks, Graham. Cheers.
I'll get some Ardbeg 10 in him next time I see him. Don't you worry.
Getting some Ardbeg 10 and then some good old-fashioned Ardbeg 10 smoky peppers.
Sure.
John V says, Oogie is the king of readily available Isla.
That's a fair statement.
I would probably agree with that. Or at the very least, it's definitely up there, for sure.
Yep.
Hands down.
And it's not unobtainium price-wise. Like, yeah.
Yeah,
DJ
if you have access...
Asking, what's the most any of us have ponied up for a bottle, and I don't know if I necessarily want to answer that question. Because there is one bottle that I have purchased that is several levels deeper into cost than anything else that I've purchased. Whiskey or otherwise, almost, other than the car.
I haven't spent nearly as much as Brad on a bottle, and I don't know if my wife is listening, so I can't freely answer that question.
I mean, thankfully, my wife does know about that. I don't need a divorce lawyer, talking about it. But it's.
Yeah.
Let's say not very low four figures would be the high, but that was like miles above anything else that I've purchased.
And it was worth it. It brought happiness in marriage.
It absolutely was worth it. It was part of causing a marriage to happen, and it made, a dozen or so people very, very quiet and happy for a while. It was great.
And yes, Matt, you're very close. Just double it for me, but yeah.
Yes, Whiskey Crusaders. That's perfect. What you just said. All bottles do cost $50.
Sure.
and I've got to ask Ed, was that before or after the discount?
Yeah. It was on sale. Every bottle I've ever bought has been on sale.
Yeah.
And it's just like fishing gear. I'm allowed to buy as much as I can hide.
I'm allowed to buy as much as I want as long as the bills get paid and it doesn't affect paying for anything else in our lives. Which is why I have a part-time job, so that I have a whiskey budget.
Yep.
The part-time job is drinking the whiskey that he buys.
That is also true. It's a self-fulfilling cycle.
And then reviewing the whiskey that he drinks. It
just makes it a tax write-off. It's perfect. It's the cycle.
Mike Lissack, I found a bottle of Winter Storm for under $200 and had to get it, and that is certainly...
That's solid.
Yeah. It's way more than that up here in Canada. Big time, yeah. Well, I think I'm going to move on and join you. Still have some MCO1 in your glass there, Brad?
Yep, I do.
So, without getting too deep into notes, I'm going to say that I really like the Isla Barley 2010 more than the Beer Barley 2008. Just goes to show, too, in the last episode about non-age statement. And while these are age-stated, just age not being everything, because that's a full 3 years different between the two, and I prefer the younger one. Delicious. So yeah, I've decanted my one bottle of MCO1. I decant all of my bottles into these 8 ounces when the bottles get low, just to try and minimize oxidization. And while I really haven't had bottles go bad or even change that much, I still think it's a good idea, and I always do it.
I haven't had any like horror stories of bottles really, really going bad yet. But I definitely have had a few things that have slowly changed over time.
I was going to say, you had
in a bad way, just different than when it started.
That dark storm that Vito had really changed big time.
Yep. Yeah, I heard. I'm drinking that one fairly quickly now that I know that it has the potential to turn.
Oh, Graham says the MCO1 is much nicer than the MRCO1, and I value that comment because I've really been kicking the tires on buying an MRCO1, and I do like. I came from wine before I got into whiskey, and so I really do appreciate all different wine casks. And I believe the MRC is from a French wine cask. I can't remember the specifics, but so I've been really interested in that, and I've heard a couple different views on it, but I am hearing more and more that the MCO1 is so much nicer than the MRC, and not just better, but a lot better. So I'll probably still end up getting one if I do find one for a decent price, simply because I love wine casks and I really love what Bruichladdich is doing with wine casks. But that's good to know because I won't be let down. I'll kind of expect something a little less. But the MCO1 really is just... Oh, it's fantastic. Everything about it is just wonderful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so the MRC is spends time in first fill American casks and then second fill French wine casks from Bordeaux.
Yeah. So I and that just, like, to me on paper sounds stellar.
It does sound super interesting. I would love to try some. I don't know if I need a bottle necessarily, but I would.
Yeah. We'll see if we can maybe get our split master Adam in on one somewhere. A Mouton Rothschild cask, but the whiskey is not great. Yeah, it's that's really is good to know. I'll kind of set my expectations at a lower level. Oh, this just smells so wonderful. And it really is a gamble, and because with the Micro Provenance series they've had, I've heard so many mixed stories of some that are just not great at all, and some that are just out of this world. And it's really cool. To my knowledge, at least from what's been disclosed and what's been released from distilleries, Bruichladdich is light years ahead of other distilleries in regards to wine casks and the amount that they've invested in and the amount that they're actually releasing. They've got all kinds of different wine casks, and again, I think so the MRC was the Mouton Rothschild. Yeah,
if nothing else, the experimentation is worth a few failures.
Big time.
They're not all going to be amazing necessarily, but if you keep experimenting, you're going to find amazing things.
Big time. And I think they have. Look at the Black Art. I don't care what anybody says, and again, I know it's not disclosed, but there is undoubtedly considerable wine influence on every Black Art that I've had, all two of them. And just so many wine notes in there, and there's also that sweetness kind of in the background that certainly could be like an ex-bourbon, but heavy on the wine influence I've found in the Black Art that I've had. Whiskey Crusaders Black Art is great. It certainly is. It really is. I think it's one of the whiskeys that absolutely is worth the money on a taste per dollar ratio. For me, it's certainly right on par. I think it is a good deal. for what you're paying. Up here in Canada, they're on the low end, 350, and then anywhere up to about 450 Canadian. 4.1 is my favorite too. It's great.
I was gonna say I've only had 5, and I enjoyed that. Is there much variance between the editions, or are they bottling lightning, every time?
So I've only had the 4 and the 5, and they're certainly different, but they are actually quite similar. I find like that there's a lot of that. It's a very busy whiskey. There's a lot going on there, but a lot of those dark fruits. And then you're still getting some bright, like orchard fruit in there as well. Berries. It's just they're both wonderful. I prefer the 4.1, but it's not by a large margin. Like the 5.1 is still one of the nicest whiskeys I've ever had. But the 4.1 does win, and that is another.
Great.
They are, yeah.
All of the ones that I've tried have been amazing, and they're definitely similar, but they all kind of have their own little spikes going because they're blended like to whatever profile, right? So then there's so many different things in them by the sounds of, as I understand it, at least they don't disclose exactly.
Because
they don't disclose anything, right? And I kind of like that.
They have a lot of blending possibilities
because they can play with. They normally do it in about 20,000 batches, like 20,000 bottles in a batch sort of thing.
Okay.
Like I know it's limited.
Yeah.
Good.
And
get to the live research, Jeremy.
Yeah. Right, so 6.1 was 18,000. I'm going to call that close enough.
Yeah. Graham says the Blackheart's bottlings are very different. The 4.1 is super dark, blackberries, tannic. 6.1 was a hair ahead of the 5.1, and I believe, Brad, that was your ages ago when you got the 6.1. When I had asked you what you thought, I think you said the 6.1 was better than the 5.
Yeah, not by a ton, in my opinion, but I enjoy it more. The 4.1 is amazing.
Yeah, 4.1. And again, Graham, I get that too. A lot of blackberries and dark fruits, and still some, a little bit right before the finish there, I do recall like a bit of orchard fruit, a little apple and pear. But super berries and super wine influences is what I always have when I revisit it and open a journal. An unopened submarine, 1990, staring me down here. Graham, open the good whiskey.
How dare you?
I've had
if
a reminder
only
recently.
Graham was able to rock around to your house at some point, Brad.
Get over here.
I believe Graham is far east in Canada, if I remember.
Yeah, I don't think he's super close, unfortunately.
Nova Scotia or PEI or something.
We'll have to get together.
Yeah, we really should try and do a big Canadian meet.
That would be fun.
Just a big hangout would be awesome. Jeremy said, nodding his head, yeah, you fucking bastards. Like, I'd love to go down to Australia. If we can get everyone to go down and maybe get cheap flights and book like a half a plane, I'd love to go to Oz.
Let's do a Canadian. Well, I'll meet up at an airport and go to Australia.
Oh, New Brunswick. Come on down. Okay, well, I got the east part right, Graham.
I have a lot of family in New Brunswick. I'm there now and then. We can make that happen.
I don't know if Brad would survive in the sun that long here, though. He'd be ginger and
air conditioning, right? It's fine.
Yeah.
Same way I survived Texas in the middle of summer. I just stay inside.
DJ11 is close to Canada, but 1 million miles away from Toronto. So I'm guessing you're obviously somewhere out west. Probably west of the Rockies if you're 1 million miles. Just tow Australia up to the Arctic Circle. It can be New Canada. Ooh, nice.
Yeah, Australia would be the Commonwealth meetup.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, DJ11 is in Washington. So, yeah.
There you
go. I'll do it.
I mean, one of these days I want to do a giant road trip anyway, so I'll be visiting all kinds of people.
What do you got in your glass, Jeremy?
Oogie.
Beauty.
Nice.
Yep.
Beauty.
Which is, so I went from the smoky pepper to the Teeling single grain and then to the Oogie, which is backwards because I would normally go to the Teeling after, like a normally non-mixed drink. So it was kind of an interesting kick. So, yeah.
Was the Teeling like extra sweet and super buttery after that smoky pepper?
So normally I hit the Teeling after just like a straight 10 or straight Oogie. And you get all this buttery popcorn awesomeness out of it. Coming from the Dr. Pepper, which I think muted that, and it could have also been because I did some spray painting this morning. I got a lot of like the acetone like note on there, like really at the top. But once it opened up a bit, it was fantastic.
Graham Young is asking if we've ever had the 9.3. Literally, yes, it is delicious.
I don't think I've had the 9.3. I've had so many of the Octomores and the meetups, and some really, really nice ones, and a lot of the older ones from like Adam bringing them. But the opinion from everybody, Brad included, is the 9.3 is spectacular.
Amazing.
My first Octomore is actually waiting at Dave Kramer's house there. I bought a bottle of the 10-year because there was a big sale on it, so I picked up an Octomore 10.
I actually haven't had the 7.3. Graham is wondering what I think. I've had 7.1, 8.1, 8.3, 9.1, 9.3, and the 10.
I think I had the 7.3, and if I recall, it was like extra bacony, more so than any other Octomore. It was like very bacony. I'm pretty sure it was the 7.3. I would have to check my notes, but Brad brought some, and I believe it was the 7.3.
If it was me, it would have been 7.1. If it was a 7, because that's the one that I have.
Okay.
There you go. Yes, Ed, I love the Teeling as well. Love Teeling.
John V had the 6.1 at the launch party. It was phenomenal, but he was too Pete ignorant to really know what was in my glass. And yeah, I hear that. But for me,
I was just going to say, like DJ11's sitting there trying to decide on the next Irish whiskey between Redbreast 15 and Teeling, depending on what Teeling expression. That's kind of a hard call.
It is.
Redbreast is tasty, but like the single grain wine cask finish is also tasty.
Easy problem to solve. You just mix them.
Yep.
Get both. Go for gold.
Yeah. You get both. You try them both, and then you mix them and see what happens. It's science.
Yeah. So Graham Young agrees on the bacony, and now I'm pretty sure, and I'm almost certain that it was the 7.3 that Brad brought, and it was it was one of the blind ones that he brought and just kind of had us guess around on what it was, and all I kept saying was bacon. Is it bacon? Yeah. Did you liquefy bacon? Is this bacon? Is it bacon? Is it bacon? I forgot
that the first time that I went to Toronto, I just brought a bunch of samples named random bullshit.
Yeah. Yep. You did.
Good times. That was a fun day.
Rocket Redbreast 12 CS is still my favorite. Yeah, it's especially for the price again, and up here in Canada, it's not too available anymore. In fact, I can't find it anywhere. But when it was available, even at the high-priced LCBO, it was about $100, $108, and well worth it.
Oh yeah, the Redbreast 12 cask strength is so good. It fights me like against the 21. I can't decide which one I like better because they're both great in different ways.
Yeah, you've said that before, and I haven't tried the 21, but the LCBOD listed it, so they don't carry it right now.
I can fix that. I gotta get the 21 out of my house because it's one of the only whiskeys that my wife will drink.
You know how you fix the difference between the 12 cask strength and the 21, Brad?
Mix them. It's not gonna lie, delicious.
Yeah, so I was.
Hey, Matt and Drum.
Cheers! Yay. Good to see you.
Cheers.
Cool thing that I'm gonna do next time we have a physical meetup. That maybe we will do on an episode is I have a 20-year-old bottle, not 20-year-old whiskey, a 20-year-old bottle of the Redbreast 12. It's from 1999.
Nice.
And I think that we should get one of the current releases and side by side them blind and check out which one we prefer and see if there are any differences. Because as we all know, a lot of distilleries have different. Lots of things change over the years, and 20 years is a long change to have in even if it's just the same stills running, and the change between like a newer still and an older still.
And you've also got, especially when you're talking shortish time periods, because weather cycles, weather patterns can be 5 to 7 odd years, can be completely different weather pattern, for the life of the whiskey that it was stored in.
Ed from Rotgut is saying the 21 is so expensive and not worth it compared to the 12, and I would probably agree with that. Given that they fight with me for like being essentially equal in my mind, like 21 is way more expensive.
So. Here's what you do, Ed. You buy the 21 with your staff discount, then you buy the 12 retail somewhere else, and then they're more competitive price-wise.
There is that.
Hashtag whiskey math.
Well, it doesn't make any sense. Erica might get angry at him, but
I mean, the price you pay sometimes.
Yeah. All right. Oh, we've been rambling for an hour.
Donald Rance is saying like the master distiller has changed, like
Yep.
So there could be all kinds of sort of semi-subtle differences between the two.
Yeah.
That'll be really
I've been holding on to sitting on it for a while to do it because I've mentioned it before. I'm not super close to. I'm probably closest to Vito in all of our local whiskey friends, and it's still close to an hour drive. Maybe Dave's a little closer, but regardless, it's not super easy to get together. And in my immediate area and my immediate friends don't super appreciate whiskey to that quite level where side by side comparisons and all that would really be a worthwhile venture.
Well, Vito's washroom should be finished soon. So for those
this better be Vito. When you watch this, I'm telling this better be the most spectacular washroom on the face of the planet.
The greatest washroom, gold plated taps. Just the best, the greatest.
Yeah.
But have a washroom warming party, Vito. Bring the boys around, drink whiskey, and then they can destroy your bathroom.
In the washroom. Yeah, we will be hanging out in the washroom. I will be showering during the hangout.
We could do top 5 shower whiskeys
these days.
Yep.
It's fine.
Yep.
Yeah, I've seen photographic evidence recently on the tribe that shower whiskey is a thing.
Yep. From John V himself, in fact.
Yeah.
That would be the photograph I was referring to.
Yeah. Which is weird because we had this conversation about 9-10 months ago about top 5 shower whiskeys with the idea of doing those videos.
discussion?
We discuss a lot of things that would never get done.
DJ, when this stream just took a turn. Oh, yeah, that happens. That tends to happen after we've been going for more than an hour. So we should probably call it a night pretty soon. Does anybody have any fiddly bits to suggest to people? Some non-whiskey related,
So I had a random thought, and I may or may not have been incredibly intoxicated at the time. Sure. But you go to a craft brewery or whatever, and they normally have growlers and squeakers, or basically refillable bottles that you take home with your beer of choice and rewash it. How come they don't do that at distilleries? Because you have some beautiful distillery bottle, like some beautiful bottles, like the Iron Root bottles, for example, are absolutely gorgeous. Right. Just pay $10 for the bottle, have one of those really nice glass corks with a silicone thing on there, drink your whiskey, wash it, go to your distillery, get it filled back up for a little bit cheaper than buying an ordinary bottle. How come that's not a thing?
I'm guessing there are laws that are getting in the way of
I was going to say...
to having to measure bottling strength and label laws and things. There's probably problems, but not necessarily unsurmountable problems. I think someone could probably work that out.
Yeah, in Canada at least, the difference in laws between spirits at 40% or more and spirits at 40% or less, and beer included, is drastically different.
On all
there's definitely
levels.
Complicated. I imagine there's legal complications there, but there might be wiggle room for someone to figure out a way.
Yeah, slap on a little paper label that has the pertinent information on what whiskey you put in there. Hey.
We'll need to talk to Mark about that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm thinking of taking a trip up there before I go back to work next week, up to the distillery there. So maybe, Jeremy, I will propose your idea to him, and maybe it can be a groundbreaking.
There you go.
Yeah, world first. Thought from some weird drunken Australian.
I mean, where do most good alcohol-related ideas come from? From drunk people.
That's where Wi-Fi. That's where Wi-Fi came from. Some drunk Australian dudes just out in the backyard. We can send information over Wi-Fi. All right, mate. It's all good.
Sure. What if we take this radio, but we make it work both ways?
Yeah.
It's good times.
Oh boy.
You got anything, Dan?
Things non-whiskey related is usually going to be books for me because I'm an obsessive reader, but maybe I'll try to steer away from that. I'm just going to make a suggestion to everyone to, if you have any hobbies at all, if it is whiskey or if it isn't, if there's anything that you like to do, if you like to paint, if you like to read, if you like to hike, if you like to take pictures, just get out there and do that, what makes you happy, because hobbies in any capacity are healthy. Unless, of course, you're going to, it's a bad vice and something like gambling or that. But yes, cars, Graham, that still counts, even if it's, something that takes up space and money. Just get out there and do it, because we only have one shot at this life.
I'm going to correct Graham on that. Cars to a point. If it's old and British, it'll give you grey hairs.
Hey, don't be trying to fix up old Land Rovers, That's the problem.
Just because that's my problem.
Yeah,
I mean, you can.
I've had a recent reminder.
Whatever. No judgment.
Had a recent reminder this week about how valuable life is, and time is the only real thing that we have on this planet, and it's the only thing we truly don't know how much we have. So just be happy and enjoy it, and embrace those hobbies and get out there and try new things, because I'm 35 and I still don't think I know the real me, and I'm still discovering stuff. And the more things you try, the more things you will find that you enjoy, and the more things you enjoy, the better the more you're going to get out of this life. So That's my fiddly bit. Nice. A little deep one for today.
Nice. That's getting emotionally deep. Makes my suggestion of a silly board game a little rough. But I have been getting more into games again lately.
Is it?
The non-digital variety? It is Trogdor.
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know where you'd be able to find it because it was a Kickstarter, but I think they are getting a little bit of distribution.
The internet, Brad. You'll find it on the internet.
Find it on the internet. I'm sure you can get it somewhere. But it's like a cooperative game just full of nostalgia for anyone who was into the Homestar Runner cartoons. I guess they're still doing them very rarely these days, but back
it seems to be
10 or 15 years ago was pretty crazy.
I was going to say, it seems to be amazing. Once every 2 months.
And it's got all of the humor that you would expect from Trogdor the board game. All of the characters are completely ridiculous. They have cards that literally break the game. They have like different categories of heroes that you can be, and several of them are completely game breaking that like you might want to set aside unless you don't mind breaking the game in hilarious ways, including the cheat, which literally just lets you cheat.
And that's like what the cheat does.
It's completely the exact humor from the old cartoons built into a board game where you burninate villages and villagers, and it's amazing.
Yes.
And because there is that kit, if you haven't already, catch what is it, Invader Sim, Enter the Floopus, and of course Rocco's Modern Life. Yeah.
Yeah, big time.
And just I don't hate old British cars. I've been restoring a Land Rover that I collected yesterday from the mechanic, and I got 20 Ks before it broke down. So it's not that I hate British cars. I just had a bad time. Oh, am I back? I'm there.
Young is saying that I'm Cask Strength's Bart. Sure, fair enough. I'll take it. Just because I'm tall and I like board games, I'll take it. It's fine.
It's not a bad thing.
No, it's great.
You just need to wear some Hawaiian shirts.
People that make me look short or normal sized, I guess. Whatever.
Just someone needs to wear Hawaiian shirts and play.
I don't have nearly enough loud anime or Hawaiian shirts to wear, but I'm sure I got a couple somewhere. But with that, I suppose we'll call it a night. It's been a good time.
Yep.
And hopefully next time Vito will be able to join us once he is finished demolishing and reconstructing his place.
Yeah, everybody feel free to wish Vito a comeback soon or harass him.
Either way, it's good.
Yep.
Either way works.
Just ask him where he is. Ask him why there's no Instagram content at the moment. Even if it's just a dusty Vito in the bathroom or the washroom. Just hammer his Instagram. Make him feel loved or harassed. One of those two things.
They both will work equally well.
There's got to be like a drywall dust covered Vito picture, like known for like finding dusties in a liquor store. Like there's something there. Like there's comedy there that could be had.
I was gonna say, if there's enough drywall dust in his beard, it's going to be Vito in 20 years. Just the grey beard, bald head.
Yeah.
He'd be right.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Graham says, cheers to friends. Nice stream and great chemistry, guys. Loved it. So awesome. We appreciate that, Graham. Thanks for coming and hanging out, man.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks for everyone in the chat for turning up. Thanks to you guys for showing up live. And Vito, I mean, he'll turn up whenever he turns up. Who knows?
Yeah.
See you next time. Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Sláinte.